Blood Brother by Ash Stafford. This is my brother, who was there through my youth. He helped me remove my first wobbly tooth. Was there through the ups and downs of family life, to find brotherhood when troubles were rife. Had each other's backs despite the stresses, encouraging each other and celebrating our successes. When I reached the age of having to face the world on my own, I knew I would need brotherhood that was embedded to the bone. So I joined the parachute regiment, an elite band of men that had become my brothers forged by fire time and time again. My airborne brothers and I have faced many situations where watching each other's back is key to survival in troubled nations. We have shed blood together and a few tears, but there is no replacement for my first brother, my blood brother, who has been there through the years. When I look back, I wish I had conveyed this message more, as it is you that has placed brotherhood in my soul, my core. To all of my brothers around the world, if life is feeling dire, just know I love you, brother, and all my brothers forged by fire.
Hello everyone, you're listening to Blue Pigment Podcast. If you want to become a patron of this show, please go to patreon.com/bluepigment. You will be helping me help the talent that I find along the way. Not only that, the podcast is an advocate for mental health and the positive message in which we want to send about mental health. So if you are a bit about that and you want to jump on board, then please become a patron at patreon.com/bluepigment. Would love to have you on board. And not only that, you'll get the chance to get some free stuff and be giving another big giveaway soon. To find out what it is, go to patreon.com/bluepigment, become a patron and get yourself some free stuff. If you're not a patron yet, you need to go and become a patron, and you'll be exposed to all the miracles that will just fall at your door. Like, you'll wake up in the morning knowing that you're a patron of Blue Pigment Podcast. You'll be able to hold your breath longer. You'll be able to run further, obviously. Not only that, you're protected against a massive variety of things like alien invasion, wildebeest stampedes, because we're all at risk at that on a daily basis. So go become a patron and see how long you can hold your breath for. The maths on it should work out that you should be able to hold your breath for significantly longer. But just to make sure, be a patron first and then test it afterwards.
Welcome to episode 30 or episode 10 of season 2. I don't really count the seasons anymore, so it's just episode 30. We'll just go with that. The guest I have on today is Caroline Walsh. She used to be in the US Coast Guard. She used to be in the CIA. She's now an author of a book called Fairly Smooth Operator, and she does comedy. And here is Caroline.
Yeah, I'm Caroline. I'm a US Coast Guard veteran and also CIA veteran. I just published a book just kind of processing all those experiences in a humorous way. So I'm big on using humor, and also just looking back on, the writing is a process to make sense of it, and then also just rereading it and like making further connections. Even after it's published, I'm like, oh yeah, that's why those stories connect. So I'm currently a PhD student in leadership studies, using like our GI benefits to just kind of find my path after all this government and military service.
Oh, that's nice. Yeah. So I do want to dive into the US Coast Guard and the CIA business stuff. And if you don't mind, would you go into that first?
Sure.
Question that I'm sure everyone wants to know the answer to is the Kraken, is it real?
I mean, that's in our classified files.
I mean, I surf. I've seen that you're
okay.
I've seen your Instagram that you surf as well.
Mm-hmm.
and being part and in close to the ocean is like a big part of my life. And she's like, no, it's the Kraken's in there somewhere.
It's down deep, so don't worry.
Yeah.
Totally not to worry. Yeah.
So yeah, the book as well, on the front cover, you've got like a so yeah, just for the listeners, the book is called Fairly Smooth Operator. My Life Occasionally at the Tip of the Spear. I love the front cover of that book, and the name and the sort of title part that comes with it. It's just it is very much, I can relate to that.
Yeah.
Did you illustrate it yourself, the front cover? Because I've seen your art, or did somebody do it for you?
We had a graphic designer with the publisher did it, and like I gave them ideas. So I gave them like a kind of like a cartoon structure, and they saw my artwork and they read the book too. So they had this idea of what might represent that entire experience. Yeah, it's actually kind of ironic because there's this big cartoon wave, and I feel like that's just like all of the darkness and just everything I had to go through with the Coast Guard. Just like suicides and just harassment and just the general struggles all wrapped into one. And then it's actually kind of ironic because in the cover I'm like on a surfboard throwing somebody a lifesaver, but like it's ironic because like I was the one that needed somebody to throw me the lifesaver in most of the experiences. So
oh right, yeah, that's because I'd listened to another one of your interviews, which was with the Team House. And you talked a little bit about your experiences with the Coast Guard. Do you mind diving into that a bit further of your experiences with them?
Absolutely. Yeah. So I enlisted after finishing my undergrad degree. So I had a degree in psychology, and me and my friends, we all surfed together, and we met the recruiter while we were out in the water, and he talked us into it. It was also a financial crisis, like the global crisis in 2009. And so we just didn't know what else to do to, continue making money, like having a decent like support. So I joined after, and I was enlisted, and I was kind of the first wave of people to enlist with a degree. So that was already like a little bit of a challenge and like not the norm. And then I just got stationed at this isolated unit, like just the most toxic thing I could even imagine. So I'm, this 22-year-old, I don't know how to deal with manipulative supervisors. Like there's no women in charge. So once it started being like sexual harassment, like I didn't know who to go to, or like, am I being too sensitive? Is this normal? Like, is this just part of being the boys club? So I was just navigating this really horrible environment for 3 years before I got to my intel school, and then got to like a healthier unit with like a lot better support. And then, when it came to the decision to re-enlist again, it was just like, I can't, like, what if I'm back at somewhere like this? So
that must have been an awful experience. Was you in the Coast Guard because of the degree that you'd got before? Had you got a bursary or anything?
I got like a bonus for having a degree, and I wanted to do intel, and that related to psychology and investigations.
Oh, sorry. What I meant was some people that join the military in the UK, if they become an officer, they get a bursary, which means they have to do a return of service because they kind of get stuck in the job. So if I suppose even if you joined at 22, did you say?
Yeah.
You've got a minimal time of service anyway, so you must have been stuck in that awful job for those 3 years. That must have been a tough challenge, physically and mentally, I imagine. And you said you're doing leadership now as another degree, and I think the two kind of go hand in hand: leadership and mental health. Because if you've got a bad leader, that becomes toxic, which is going to have a massive detrimental effect on everyone else that's in the team. So as your experiences led you to want to do the leadership so you can be a better leader for people in the future? Is that why you're doing that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I did eventually get my commission. So I was in more of a leadership position, and just like brought women together, and like just made sure everyone had, someone to reach out to if something happened. And yeah, it's like thinking back, like if I just had one person who I could trust, if I had one person in like a higher rank position that I could trust, and who knew the system. Like, I didn't know the system either. Like, I wasn't from a military family. I was the most junior person. Like, I didn't even know who to begin to reach out to. So yeah, like, I think all of that really awful leadership or lack of leadership is definitely something like that has led me on, to study leadership. And like, I've seen so much of it poorly, and then I actually saw really good leadership at the CIA. So like, exploring like how can you change these environments, and how can you get good leaders in these places is really important to me.
Yeah, what year would that have been that you joined the Coast Guard and had the bad experiences?
That was 2009 to 2012.
Yeah, I was going to say that
yeah,
I know the British military's sort of equality and diversity has come on quite a lot within the sort of like last 10 years, but to be sort of like the trailblazer of, one of the only female in your unit, that must have been daunting enough as it is, let alone the harassment to go on top. That really must have been a really awful experience for you.
Yeah, it's really, I mean, it's hard enough being a woman in like a decent environment. Like, it's just always a little anxious feeling, but yeah, to be in the bad one, I definitely, my coping mechanisms were like not the worst, but not good. So
yeah, but then going on to the CIA and having a much more positive experience, that's awesome. So what kind of area of the CIA were you involved in?
I made it around. You kind of get exposed to a lot of different things, but I was an analyst. I did targeting work, so just trying to get people in the right place, picking out who's who, creating like networks and figuring out the like more strategic community. So it still had like a leadership aspect, because you're still trying to figure out who's influential in these, just opposite sides of the network, opposite sides of a problem or an issue. So I work mostly counter narcotics was like the majority of my my work there.
So a much more rewarding job as well, knowing that you're having an immediate effect on the situation. So does that all comes out in the book? I apologize, but I haven't read it. I've read the reviews on Amazon, and to be fair, for the listeners, the reviews are outstanding, completely 5 stars across the board. And if in the UK, if you want to pick it up, the hard copy is £20.99. Paperback is £12.99, and on Kindle, which means you could have it today, is £5.99. I don't have a Kindle, otherwise I'll do that, but I plan on ordering a copy soon. So the CIA business, the Coast Guard stuff, and the comedy is all wrapped up in the book, which is cool. Talk to us about the comedy side. Is that your way of dealing? Is that your expressing yourself in the comedy way?
Yeah, I think like being in the Coast Guard, my coping mechanism was so physical. It was physical fitness. It was surfing. It was running. It was just like almost like, in a normal situation, it's healthy, but it became to be avoiding facing everything that I had dealt with. So once I started with the Armed Service Arts Partnership, which puts on comedy classes for veterans, then I really started creatively processing it and like making connections to like how my current actions are been like affected through the whole 5-year experience in the Coast Guard. So it was in just expressing to civilians and our audience, like just the darker side, and like it's such a teaching experience as well to be doing comedy and like revealing things in a non-threatening way.
Do you do stand up in front of an audience, and how does that feel when people have paid money for you to make them laugh? How do you build yourself up to get that courage to stand in front of people?
The organization, so you do a 6-week course. It's one Saturday every week, and so they really build you up and get you ready for the stage. So now I'm an instructor, so I know like we make sure like everybody's jokes are funny. Like we have them also like bring their family members. Like the audience is all friends and family, and like our saying is like, our leader comes up, our executive director, and he's like, talking to the audience, he's like, all right, what are you going to do if it's funny? And they're like, laugh. And he's like, what are you going to do if it's not funny? And they're like, laugh. So it's just like the first time you get on stage is really positive. And so it's still like a physical reaction. Like I still had like that stomach, like nerve feeling. But actually the first time I got on stage, the lights were so bright, I could not see anybody. And so it was like I was practicing and I was just talking to myself, and I had to pause for the reaction, because when you're practicing, you don't have that feedback. So it actually slows you down and you're not just reciting it. You have to just feel the audience getting what you're saying.
Yeah, that must be great. Like not being able to see that, because
Yeah.
I mean, I do a podcast. It may seem that I have a bit of confidence, but just before we started now, I was nervous. I was pacing up and down the room. I was like, you know, just by speaking to somebody I've never spoken to, it just makes you nervous. But the coping mechanisms you must have now, and now put in place, and teaching other people is great. You know, passing on that those benefits of coping mechanisms. I mean, if you imagine an athlete going into a race, they're going to eat healthy, drink healthily, sleep healthily, and train so that they are the best version of themselves when they get to that race. And I guess it's the same with comedy. I don't know. Do you prep prior to
Definitely.
yeah?
I mean, even in the class, like I was practicing during the week, like, and now if I have a show or an event, I'm in the car talking to myself, doing my set. Like it takes all your focus, which is really cool. And you're never fully prepared. Like you always have that, like for me at least, like I always have that nerves where it's like, oh my God, I'm going to forget a joke. I'm going to like blank out. But like you prepare for it. And that, like I got asked on a show really last minute, and I was like, all right, this is like my challenge for the next 2 days. Like I got to get ready for it. And it's just like a fun like challenge. Like I just love it.
That was so cool. Like that transition from having a bad career to having a good, you know, to now being happy. You do a job that brings you happiness and joy. That must be just a great feeling of like a flip your life around type of scenario. And now being able to help other people that may be in a similar position that you were in, and teach them comedy and teach them to also flip their life around. But then is there ever anyone you've taught that's had a negative effect? Maybe people haven't laughed and it's made them go inside themselves a bit more? Because I know that if I was rejected by a crowd, I know it'll break it'll burn me up. But
yeah, I think, yeah, after people leave like the first show they have, it's like we're making it a positive experience. Like you're like, we also help you build up your jokes so much that like they're gonna be funny. I think afterwards, when you go and you have that first set that just doesn't hit with an audience, it's hard. It's bound to happen though. And we talk about how like we kind of prepare for people, like you're gonna go down and you're gonna want to that's like when you rewrite, that's when you come up with new material. Like that's when you come back to the community, you come back to your classmates and you brainstorm and you like go over stuff. So I think it's like the preparation for it. But I don't think anybody's ever just like dropped off and they're like done. Like it's so fun. Like, and you have that first really good experience, you like want to achieve that again.
That's cool. Yeah, that community, I guess. If as long as you've got that community to give you that support. I mean, even if you did go up on a stage and you crash and burned and you choked and everyone just sort of like fell silent, at least you've got in the arena. You know, like a boxer, if a boxer was to go and have a fight and they got absolutely destroyed by the opponent, they've still got in the arena. So you know they've learned something new about themselves and achieved something in failure, I guess.
Yeah, and our classes are all about like, it's definitely comedy, it's definitely the arts, but it's also probably 50, 75%, 80% like just building community among veterans. My little dog. And it's just like when you do comedy and you're in a class with 5-10 people, like you're talking about deep stuff like pretty quickly that, you know, if you're just meeting somebody to go for a run, you might not get into. So it really can, like, you really connect in these classes over 6 weeks, like on a deeper level than some of the other, you know, like non-creative programs. So I think that's the cool part of it.
Yeah, creativity is an avenue for social. I've seen, and that's pretty much how I found you on Instagram, through your creativity. It was actually, I think, the surf art and the baseball caps that you've drawn.
Oh yeah.
On, I think they are fantastic. Can you buy those? Are they
Thanks.
for sale somewhere?
No, I gave them to friends this time around. I'm in the school program. That's kind of my summer art project, and everyone's like, "Oh, you need to get an Etsy," and I'm like, "Okay, like I got to get some infrastructure together." So, coming soon.
You sound like a busy person. You've got the book, the comedy. Are you doing readings and going from place to place to do readings, plus the artwork and stuff you do as well? Are you a busy person?
I'm just, I like am someone I'll slowly just accumulate too much and then I have to cut things off. So yeah, like my book, I need to like get focused. I was teaching a class at the university too, which was a lot of work. And like, I don't know, it's a little still COVID times. It's still a little hard to travel. And so I haven't done a lot of signing. It's also for me, like, I feel weird having a book signing because my book is like about me. So I just feel like too self-conscious to be like, yes, buy my book. Like, this is my, so I got to figure out how to get over that and promote myself.
Yeah. I can relate to that. I mean, I try and push the podcast out and get listeners on board. I've active listeners that continuously come back. There may be 60 to 80 that are that listen to every episode, which is a starting point. It's somewhere. Mm-hmm. But it's like every time I put an episode out, I'm like, oh, what this person that's always listening, what do they think? What are they going to think of me?
Yeah.
Because I'm wearing my heart on my sleeve and I'm telling people about, my dealings with mental health and this sort of thing. And but it's great because if you and I can, a former Coast Guard, I'm in the Parachute Regiment, which is an elite unit of the British Army. And if people like us that are in sort of tough person jobs have been in tough person jobs can wear our hearts on our sleeves, then it kind of gives other people the permission to go, oh, I can be a bit wear my heart on my sleeve and stop putting the shield up and wearing the armor and be a bit more myself, because being yourself mm-hmm. is good for your mental health. Whereas putting the masks on of the different careers and different, things that people expect of you is when you might have a bit of a detrimental effect on your own mental health. But so let's go back into the previous careers, if you don't mind.
Sure.
And I'm sure it's in the book, but can we talk about the funnier experiences that you had? Give us your funniest Coast Guard experience.
Oh my gosh. My funniest Coast Guard experience, it's a chapter called Gary. And so we're at this unit that just in the summer times, it was the Hamptons, basically Hamptons, New York. So winter, it's huge waves, like cold weather, all this like really tough stuff. Summertime, it's rich yachters from New York City who have no idea how to drive a boat. So we get this call and it's this guy and he's like, Mayday, Mayday. And we're like, oh my God, like we got something going on. Like, what is this? And he's like, I'm at this location. Like it's dark out. He's like, he's just so disoriented and like calling us. He keeps saying Mayday on the radio. And then we're like, okay, like calm down. Like, let's get your information. And we're like, ask for his position. And like one person's plotting it on like Google Maps. One person's on the paper map plotting his position. And then like they both at the same time are like looking at each other and someone looks out the window and he's in the lake, like outside of our unit. And like it's calm waters. And we're like, all right, like Gary, his name is Gary. We're like, Gary, you got to stop saying Mayday. We're going to send a boat out to get you. Like, so we're just cruising at like 2 miles an hour, like just going over and we have the loudspeaker and we're like, Gary, like, we can't get any closer. You're in 3 feet of water. Like he's in this like canoe. And I don't know how he had a radio on board. And he's like, I need a tow. And we're like, Gary, can you step out of your canoe and drag it to the shore? It was just like that was like great. Cause it's like, we genuinely were like, we got to get this guy like to calm down and like be okay. And like, you're right by the edge of the water. And that like just highlighted like just like a dedication to the community among like my crew members. Like they really wanted to help him out, but it was also hilarious that he really should not have needed our help. We've got like the flashlight on him, like the speaker.
Oh man, bless that guy. To actually get on the radio and call Mayday is like a big thing to do.
Yeah. I feel like you saw it in a movie or something, and it's like, this is how I get their attention. Like,
Oh my gosh, yeah.
so, yeah.
Okay, what about the scarier moments of being in the Coast Guard?
Yeah. I mean, this was also a funny story, but like we're out in really big waves, and like the Coast Guard has really limited resources. So we had 4 people on board, and I got seasick, which caused somebody else to get seasick. So suddenly we have 2 people on board and like these 8-foot seas, and like our boat driver is like a 23-year-old kid. You know, it's just like, whoa, this got serious really quickly. So just, yeah, putting your life in somebody that goes out drinking every night, like, and like trusting that their training's gonna kick in when it needs to is, yeah, like some of them deserve the trust, some of them didn't, but luckily this guy really stepped up his game and like got us home with like a 2-person crew.
So I've seen people struggling in the water. It's normally because people don't understand the sort of dynamics of a riptide, and they're on the beach and they get caught in the riptide and it takes them out to the back, and they panic because they're going out further, which makes it obviously a lot worse. And you're probably a bit, more of an expert on this than me, but give somebody the advice of what to do if they get caught in a riptide.
Riptides swim parallel to the beach. So the riptide's pulling you out. You're not going to beat a current pulling you out in the direction. So swim like to your left or right parallel, get out of that riptide, and then paddle into the beach.
Yeah.
That's the answer.
Yeah, that is the answer. I mean, as a surfer, I use riptides on a regular basis to take me out to the back, so I to catch the waves. And I've never been in a situation where I thought, oh, this is it, I've stuffed it in the sea. But there was a time when I was a novice surfer, must have been about 14 years old, and I'd gone out. I traveled down. No, it wasn't 14. I must have been more like 18. And I traveled down to the beach, and it took me so long to get there that I was like, I'm going surfing, whatever the weather. And it was super windy, but it was like blowing towards the cliff. So I thought, right, what I'll do is I'll go down the beach fairway and then I'll get in. And I didn't catch any waves. I just literally got blown straight across, just straight across into the rocks. And then I had to like jump off each rock to try and get back to the shore. And I was like, that was a bad idea. So don't go surfing when it's super windy. Yeah.
Yeah. So dicey.
CIA then. Let's say the funnier experiences in the CIA.
Yeah, I think like it has such a dark sometimes connotation. Like people think of like drone strikes and that, but like the analyst side and the science side, like the science and technology, like it's like full of really fun, creative people. Like we're trying to solve these like big problems and create strategies like in a way that hasn't been done before. So like I one idea, like also our brainstorming process is like everything goes on the board. So imagine like you and your buddies just thinking of your wildest ideas, and nobody can be like, come on, like get real. Like nobody, like the whole idea is to get unreal. So I think my favorite one we came up, we're like trying to figure out how to target somebody, and we just started talking about like Billy Madison, like when he like stomps out shit on the porch, and we're like, what if we just drop shit, like, and like try to provoke them to get on comms using like shit balloons or something. I don't even know. Like we were trying to just come up with like some way to like get a reaction, and thought of like many creative ways to get someone to react. It didn't. It got all the way to the lawyers, but it did not get through.
We did in Afghanistan. It was one of our last patrols. It was in 2008 in Kajaki. And after it was our last patrol. So our last patrol, we played some music over a tannoy system so that everyone in the district could hear it. And it was a big tannoy system. And we played Ride of the Valkyries, which is my regiment's like marching tune. And it's, da, 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 da.
Oh my gosh.
And the Taliban piped up on their radios and were saying, oh, we can hear Indian music. They're trying to like take the mickey out of us, saying that our music was Indian. And they had a bad day. But that's I guess that's the creativity of it. We didn't mean to use the Ride of the Valkyries to target them. We just wanted to do Last Hurrah before we before we went off on the back to the UK. But yeah. Okay. Have you got any other things that you want to sort of discuss, top up whilst you're here? You know, I know you've got the book, and I've mentioned where we can get that. Are there any other websites, your Instagram and that you want to let people know about?
Sure. Yeah. My Instagram's Caroline Noelle. I don't know, NOELLE_art. And then, yeah, the Armed Service Arts Partnership, we are only operating in the US right now. But I mean, if anybody out there is looking to design an arts program for veterans, it's asap.org. And like our funding comes from donors that are just donating directly for US military. So we've had like Australians reach out and we're like, oh, we're not there yet, but like super cool, like enabling organization. So like once you set it up, then like your students become mentors, then your mentors become instructors. So it's just this really cool, like you don't need a lot of resource kind of program. So I'd say asap.org if anyone's interested in comedy or the arts. We have YouTube videos too with our performers, which is cool.
I might be able to put you in touch with a few people. There's an organization called MV, Military Veterans Creative Arts. It's a British veteran mental health creative sort of outlet. They're a charity sort of type event, a CIC, community engagement company.
Okay.
But yeah, I'll put you in touch with them. It's a similar sort of concept, so maybe able to work together. One more question. It's the question that I ask all my guests, and it's, what is the most courageous thing that you've ever seen or heard of?
So yeah, I was thinking about this. I've recently just watched a couple of surf documentaries, and the one thing that really stuck out to me, like, you know, a lot of these pro surfers are kind of dicks and like, you know, kind of arrogant, whatever. But watching Laird Hamilton's documentary, and there's this moment where like his buddy just got annihilated by a wave, ripped up, like his whole leg got ripped off, and like Laird Hamilton actually 2 times in his life just like goes in, saves his buddy, and like could have taken his own life. And like when he talks about it, he's like, I couldn't return home and tell his wife what happened. Like I had to bring him back with me, and that's all that was on my mind. So for me, like reflecting on that, and like just the similarity between some of these like surf friend tribes and like veteran tribes of people, like there's like a human instinct to just like look out for each other that I think, you know, veterans, we all think like, oh, no one can understand us, we're so tight knit, we're so close. But like there's other similar communities that like also just have this like, no, like you're coming home, like absolutely, like I'm not leaving you, even if it means, you know, getting my jet ski annihilated by a wave. Like this, we're doing this together. So yeah, like his courage in those 2 moments, and like the way he tells it versus the way his friends are like, I would not be here without him, and he's just like, I just couldn't return home without him. So those are like 2 moments that really stuck out to me recently.
That is mental. Like the waves that they surf is just ridiculous. Like big wave surfing is terrifying. Like the ocean is the most powerful thing that I can imagine, and thinking I'm going to ride this. I mean, I surf, but nothing like that. I mean, the biggest waves I've been out on are probably 13 foot, and I just got pummeled around loads, and then I was like, no, I'm not doing that again. I came back in. But what's the biggest wave you reckon you've surfed?
Biggest wave, and like the last big wave was I was in Ecuador. I think somebody said it was 3 meters, which is like 9-10 feet, and like I was doing great, and then I was tired, so I came in and I was like, I'll just take one in, but I was too far in, and the set came in. Like if my leash had broken, like I used my leash to like climb back up to the air to where my board was, but like that was the last of anything over like 5-6 feet for me.
Yeah, that's 5-6 feet is probably as big as I'd like to go in the future. I mean, this one wave that's when I went out on the 13, it was a beach break, so I had to try and swim out, which was just impossible. I never got out to the back. And I remember this wave breaking on me, and it hit my legs before I went under the water. So I felt this like slap on the back of my legs, and I was not a good time. I love the part in the book that you've put that says my life occasionally at the tip of the spear. Do you want to dive into why you put that occasionally at the tip of the spear?
Yeah, well, like it's fairly smooth operator. So it's a satire on like all of these really hardcore, like smooth operator special forces books. And it's not satiring them exactly, but like my experience where it's like, yeah, I'm CIA, but like I'm fairly smooth. Like, let's get this straight. Like, this wasn't an entirely smooth operation. And then occasionally at the tip of the spear is just that phrase gets used so often, like everyone's tip of the spear. And I'm like, okay, like I was at the tip of the spear like once or twice, but like, let's not overblow this, like just occasionally. So
A bit of a modest touch.
it's just like, yeah, like let's be real. Let's expose some of this for what it really is. It's not all hardcore all the time.
Yeah, I'd say the same with the British. You spend probably over 90% in training rather than actually doing the business. And then there's the other, the other time you spend with your family and friends, you're on leave. And yeah. No, it's a really cool name. It's a really cool little caption you got at the end of the name, and the image on the front is very intriguing. And I'm definitely going to place an order very soon, probably as soon as we finish this anyway. But yeah, thank you very much for coming on the podcast. I really appreciate your time. And last chance, if there's anything else you want to say,
Oh man, I'm so bad at this. I should probably come up with something on these to be like, oh yeah, and no, I think just like take care of each other, listen to each other. Like, thank you for having me on. I think it's cool that we just connected on social media and have so much like, in common to chat about. So thanks for having me on.
Oh, thank you very much for being on. I appreciate it, and speak to you very soon.
Yep.
You're listening to Blue Pigment Podcast, sponsored by Huscarl. Go to huscarl.co.uk to find yourself some amazing printouts, stickers, and t-shirts. Use the discount code BluePigment. On October the 14th, 1066, the Battle of Hastings, King Harold had fallen, yet his loyal bodyguards, the Huscarl, continued to fight, holding their oath to him until the last man was killed. The Huscarl brand now stands for that committed cause and loyalty to a shared brotherhood, all combining with a passion for great design. They seek to continue the Huscarl ethos, providing the ultimate in design, quality and sustainability. Their products are showcased by the modern day Huscarl. Follow the you, not the fallen.
Okay, so I'll say that discount code again. It is Blue Pigment. Go to huscarl.co.uk, use the discount code Blue Pigment for 15%. That's 15% off. You won't regret it. I've got quite a few t-shirts and quite a few accessories now of Huscarls, and each and every one of them are quality by design, quality in the delivery. Even the packaging that comes with is fantastic. So you won't regret it. Go over to Huscarl, order yourself some stuff. Promise you, you'll love the stuff. Get the stuff.
The opinions or views expressed on this podcast are solely of my own or the guests and do not represent the opinions or views of anybody else or the Ministry of Defence.
Shish kebab, Shawshank Redemption, Chicago! You're out of there!